Here are some words. Eerie, ambiguous, slightly twisted, quietly violent. My guest tonight is one of those actors who leaves a lasting impression and causes phrases like that to be used about him. When you leave the theater in a film that Christopher Walken has been in, I find, anyway, that he's burned into my retina in some way, if it's the retina in which things burn. His films include Pennies from Heaven, The Comfort of Strangers, and The Deer Hunter, for which he won a well-deserved Oscar. I doubt if it was even close on that one. His latest is, the voting, I mean, his latest is called Skylark, and this is a television movie which airs this weekend. And I have reasonable confidence that his performance will be just as memorable. Christopher Walken, welcome from that long-winded introduction.
Thanks.
Now, don't let me spook you right at the top here, but several times, because of those words that attach to you and in everything that's written about you, enigmatic, scary, a slightly psychotic subsurface just below the surface that might burst out at any moment, phrases like this. A couple of people who knew you were going to be on said, ooh, I might be scared to meet him. Does this amuse or appall you in any way or surprise you?
I don't know, I've thought about that. I suppose it has something to do with the fact that I grew up in show business, I think.
This is not produce a normal person.
Exactly.
But I was going to say, in some sense, people who think he must have grown up in Transylvania or something might be surprised to find that you grew up in Queens.
Yeah.
Worked in a bakery.
Yeah.
Did you have that quality then when you wanted to? Did anyone ever say, I'll have half a dozen rolls and, ooh, never mind. I'm out of here.
I worked in the back, really, carrying and cleaning. But I did grow up in show business. The television was starting in the 1950s, and it started in New York, and it was all live. Yeah. And there were a lot of kids that were used more or less as furniture, you know, and set dressing. And but they worked a lot. My brothers and I worked in TV. And you mentioned Transylvania, but it is another country. That world, in a way, it doesn't exist anymore, even in television, because it's video and it's in California. And in those days, though, there were 90 live shows out of New York every week.
That just stuns me, right? That figure, 90 live shows.
That's right.
And now you'd have to think, are there any?
And they were drama, and some of them were only 15 minutes, so that the kids that I worked with, and there were a lot of them, there were schools for them. Sometimes they'd do 3 shows at the same time. My brother had 3 at the same time, and he also had a radio show, which he sometimes couldn't make, and I would do for him because we had the same voice.
The exact same voice? They
Pretty
didn't
much.
know which, yeah.
Pretty much.
Now, you mean any kid could just get on television if you were in town?
Sure.
If I had lived here instead of Nebraska, I'd have been on
Absolutely.
TV instead of...
If your mother wanted you to, you would...
Now you know. That's a key phrase. When I read about your mother getting you into these things, she's so far not portrayed as a beastly stage mother who grabbed you by the hair and said, you'll do this whether you like it or not. But,
no,
but
it was
was
a good
she,
thing.
if it's not an impolite question?
No, it was a good thing. I'm very grateful, really, for that one-of-a-kind education that brought. Certainly unusual, and made me what I am today.
Well, it wasn't a case of, Mom, come on, I want to play cowboys and Indians. I don't want to go into a TV studio and
did that too. Did it for money.
You've played those things as well.
Sure.
So, but it was her idea to get the boys into the business, but not the way the Marx Brothers' mother dragged them in, dyed their hair, made them go to rehearsals.
No. Well, those guys looked like they were having fun too, but it was a little different then. There was actually a society called the Stage Mother Society, and I think there were 300 women that were members. So you can imagine how many kids there were.
Wow.
And there were 3 different schools that were totally about that, so that you could do your work on correspondence. And
And you got.
I still can't write.
How do you mean? You can't write a legible
I
handwriting?
write blocks, block letters, yeah.
Yeah. And you in college did not hit it off exactly.
I went
Was that
almost
because
a
of the
year. Almost a year.
Almost a year. Where did I read this? It's in the middle of a psychology class,
That's
you
right.
decided it was over?
Gee, that's true. Well, I had auditioned for a musical, a revival of a musical called Best Foot Forward. That was Liza Minnelli's debut. She was 16. And I had the job. And I was sitting in class, and I thought, well, I'll just go take that job. And that was that.
It wasn't that the psychology professor had brought up an embarrassing or touchy subject, and you just thought that
No,
you
I
were
was staring out the window.
yeah, bored or eager to get on the stage.
Wanted to get back
Yeah.
back in there.
You're a sensational dancer. Is that because, well, you never know why you're sensational at anything, but you were a highly trained dancer. Your mother made you do that, too?
Well, that was part of it. There's a whole generation of men my age from Queens who can tap dance. And there was part of Saturday, that's what you did. And it wasn't serious dancing, it was tap dancing. And I'm glad I didn't live downstairs from this.
I was going to say, neighbors must have been a real hazard to... When we come back, I'd love to talk about any number of things, but one of them, the Deer Hunter, I guess, is one of the most vivid performances, creations, whatever you call what you did in that. I don't know anybody who saw that who can ever get the Russian roulette scene out of his head. When we come back, we can talk about that, or just about anything you like.